are your goals for 2017? Everybody needs a goal, and what I like to do is quote Dr. John Maxwell here: your future success depends on your daily agenda. What I like to say is your daily agenda must include action steps to achieve your goals. So by having goals, you're able to set daily actions, weekly actions, and put those in place so that you can achieve your goals over time. So what we're going to do today is help you sort out your goals for 2017. So the first one we want to talk about, and in your workbook, please write down what is your revenue target, and then if you would in the chat box just go ahead and put some idea of what your revenue stream is going to be for 2017 or what your target's going to be. That would help me get a sense of how the group shakes out. How much is this monthly? So you may not think of it in an annual basis, you may think of it on a monthly basis. So if that's how you think of it, please write it down. How many tours and enrollments will that require? So this industry is a little bit unique in that there's really two measures of success that I consider. Well, there's actually three: number of calls, but how many of those calls turn into tours, and then how many of those tours turn into enrollments. So how many will you require on a monthly basis to achieve that monthly goal and overall that revenue target? And so in your case, you should also have broken down enrollments and tours by month. So in January, if you need 8 new enrollments, for example, and in July, you typically only get 2 new enrollments, make sure you adjust that so you actually are tracking what's reasonable. Your average enrollment value, so you need to think about that. That's a combination of before school, after school, full-time care, part-time care. What is your average enrollment? And if you really want to get fancy, you can break down your enrollments into 2 goals, which is how many full-time enrollments do you need, how many part-time enrollments do you need, and then if you really want to get detailed, you can also break it down into the before and after school program and how many enrollments you need there. I'm just going to do a simple example when we get done here, just so everybody can see it, and it will be on the replay so you can calculate it for yourself later if you struggle with the numbers. The other thing you want to know is what's the lifetime value of a customer. So when a parent comes through the door, how many months are they going to stay in your child care center on average? So you want to know what that number is. And then you also want to look at how many new staff members you'll need to hit your goal. The reason staff members are important here is if you have a room that's at partial capacity and all of the rest of your rooms are full, for example, you want to target all of your marketing to fill up that partial capacity room. Let's say it's a toddler room. And if you have 12 openings in there in your toddler room, you'd be better off to market to fill that up, because every other one of your rooms is going to require an additional staff member, which is a pretty significant expense. So here's my example. So what's your target revenue? 1.5 million. How much is that monthly? That breaks down to 125,000 a month. What's your average enrollment value? For this example, I'm going to use $1,000 average enrollment value. How many enrollments would that require? And so it's not a simple math equation here. It's now where you have to count how many openings that you have and then multiply it by the transaction value of $1,000. So in this case, we have $8,000 or 8 openings. Again, what's the lifetime value? In this assumption, we're looking at child stays for 24 months. And so $24,000 is what the value of one new child is. And remember, every one of your centers will be a little bit different. And then how many new staff members will you need to achieve these goals? And in this case, in my example, you need 2. So you need to calculate that out. So this is a really big deal, because without knowing these numbers, how can you set goals? So in a perfect world, like I say, you want to, how much is this monthly goal? You can just use a round figure for every month. And remember, this 125,000 includes the currently enrolled children. So in this case, it tells me I've got 125,000, I've got 8 openings. My current enrollment is $117,000 of monthly income on average. So you want to take that into account. And then what's the capacity that you need to be at to achieve these goals? So each center is different, your cost structures are different, but in my example, I'm saying if you need 85% or more to hit your goals, then these numbers would work. If you need 95%, obviously your numbers are going to be higher, because your goal would be closer to 9 or 10 enrollments every month versus the 8 that we used in this example. So now we need to look at how many leads we'll get. So can somebody tell me how they track their leads? Do they use a spreadsheet, or are you using some kind of CRM tool? It would help me understand this group a little better. So in your chat, if you type in how you're tracking your leads that come in, how you're tracking your phone calls, how you're tracking your tours, and finally, how many of that's enrollment. So got one that's doing it on a spreadsheet. Then we need to look at what your average conversion rate from a tour is. So from a call to a tour, if you're getting 50% conversion rate at that level, you need 24 calls to get 12 tours. And then what's your average conversion rate from tour to enrollment? And if you're at 65%, that will get you 12 calls per month, and it will get you 8 enrollments. Again, each month will be different, because I know you have higher enrollments here in typically December, January, February, even into March, and then your enrollments drop off if children graduate, move on to summer programs only, those types of things. So what you're looking for, though, is every month, how many calls do you need coming in the door? How many walk-in tours? If you take walk-in tours, how many of those do you need? I don't have that on this example, but you should take that into account. And then how many of those as a percentage turn into an actual enrollment? So the more you track these numbers, the better you're going to be able to manage and use your marketing plan that we'll talk about here shortly. We have another one that's using ProCare. So spreadsheets, ProCare, there's a variety of ways in which you can track it out there in the childcare niche. So what is the average conversion rate called a tour to enrollment? If your numbers are from call to tour 50%, and from tours to enrollment 75%, and I'm sorry I missed this should say 65%. If you know those numbers, then you're going to be able to start forecasting your income at the highest level on your profit and loss statement. This doesn't really impact your expenses, other than you have variable expenses that will come up as you add new children. But that's something else to consider. If you have openings in every single room, what is what they call your marginal cost to add a child? And so oftentimes that marginal cost is simply their meals, their workbooks, and a few dollars towards toiletries and things like that. So oftentimes I work with customers to figure out what that marginal cost is, because that will help us define what kind of special to run. So if your marginal cost, add 1 new student and you need no new teachers or no other significant expense, then you can run a 4-week free ad, because it's going to cost you $400, maybe max if it's $100 a week, And for some of you, again, depends on what your overhead costs and stuff are, but typically it's anywhere from $100 to $250 per month, actually. So you run that first month free, and then in the second month and beyond, you have the ability to charge your full rate. Much better to do that than give a discounted rate over the whole time.